for a long time, I would have said that men cannot be friends with women.
And I understand I was the problem, not necessarily them. Oh, dang. Okay. I might be countering myself right now.
Number two, if this woman is not my wife's friend, it means that we have a relationship that to some degree my wife is not aware about.
How many times have you guys heard about some mutual friend and that one of the spouses or couples or whatever, they step out with that mutual friend? Can men and women be friends? That is a conversation that I thought was pretty obvious, that there were some nuances in there. However, I've been seeing a lot of content being put out by Christian and non-Christians about how they feel about it. And surprisingly enough, it's, I guess, not as nuanced as I thought it was. Rather, it's for the Christians or, the manosphere and everybody else. They all got something to say. So, hey, why not? I'm going to give you my perspective. I will tell you right up front, it's going to be nuanced. It's going to be gray area. And I will try to give my ideas and also be honest about my shortcomings and where I have failed and why I understand how certain people feel a certain way. And I understand I was the problem, not necessarily them. So let's go ahead and get into the first reaction video. So this comes from Men on Mission. This gentleman here is he's gonna share some stuff, and we're gonna react to it. Okay, we're gonna react to it here together. So let me know in the chat if you guys are if the audio levels are off or not. So let's go ahead and get into it.
This topic. Well, for a long time, I would have said that men cannot be friends with women, especially single guys, or not necessarily especially single guys, but talking about single guys. You can't be friends with women. It just does. It shouldn't happen. You can't do it. It's not smart. It's not wise. And for a little bit there, I was almost being convinced the other way around. I was almost thinking, hey, maybe it is possible. Maybe it is okay. But as I've seen time and time again, not only in my life, but the life of other people I've known as well, it is a breeding ground for just miscommunication, and also just it doesn't breed the kind of good relationships that you actually want.
There's a setup. Is at one point, he felt like, no, you couldn't. And then he felt like, oh, no, you could. So he seems like he's going back and forth. Again, something that I understand there's a spectrum and there's, a situation for everybody. So let's continue and see what else he's got here.
And so let me highlight a little bit of some of the boundaries that I think are really important for guys to establish in their relationships with women, and in terms of like their acquaintance relationships.
Okay, so I want to pay attention real quick. So he's going to be talking about definitions, right? So acquaintances and all that. And so again, this is where I was like, wait a minute, there's a spectrum. So what are we specifically talking about when we say, can men and women be friends, right? So we're about to get to it right here.
Because I think friend is a high standard. A friend is somebody that you would text when you're going through something hard, or somebody that when you're in a time of need, and you text somebody. Who's that going to be? Is that going to be this girl that you're friends with? I don't think it should be, as a single guy. Yeah. Because that's something that's reserved for your brothers, your guy friends, your family, or your girlfriend or your wife, right?
Okay, so he's defining friendship in such an intimate way that it is somebody that you're going to go to, not just in the good times, but in the bad times. Maybe somebody to help you process something that is going on, rather it's very life-changing, whatever. So he's putting the weight of friendship at such a level that it's not a very just in passing. Okay, like how some people will be like, oh yeah, that's my friend, from the gym, and it's like, well, I mean, you talk to them at the gym for sure, and y'all are like buddies, for sure while you're there. But you're not like really doing life with one another. What is the definition of a friend, right? If we can get into the definition of a friend, maybe there's something there that I'm missing. So a person who knows, or whom one knows, and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically exclusive of sexual or family relations. Basically, it's saying just, hey, somebody that you just mutually feel like, hey, we're friends. So basically, I'm a friend. Are you my friend? I am your friend. You're my friend too. Okay, we're friends. That's how I kind of see friends. I don't know how you guys would express that. So anyway, so I think his definition of friendship is this really weightiness, and it's not necessarily wrong. I think it's just different. Every relationship, or every word, I should say, needs to be defined, right? Like, what do you mean? So what I mean when I say somebody's a friend is it's not necessarily an inner circle thing. Okay, I think an inner circle is different than a friend. I think I would use associate in the even broader ends of the circle of the like the bigger circle, and then the people in the circle of friends are like basically like I would consider people like when I do events and I see them, every festival this time of year, all the time or whatever, we chop it up. I get to know, I get to check in and be like, yo, last time you talked to me, I know you were changing jobs. Like, how's that going? Like, to me, I would still consider that like I'm friends. It seems like he's holding it to the standard of like intimate. Okay. Intimate friendship is the way that he says. I definitely have my circle, and then I have my friends, two different very categories. Yeah, I agree. They're two different categories even for me. So let me see if there's some more here, and then I might fast forward.
And if you're giving that kind of vulnerable information over to
so the intimacy part, like his level of friendship is like deep. He just like he threw out an anchor, in order to get in there.
Them, or committing your hopes and dreams and sharing them with them, it's putting them in an awkward position where it almost feels like to them that they could be something more, right? And
so again, I would agree. Like if you are a person who, like myself, who you're very vulnerable and you're very transparent, I can see how if you are just starting a relationship or just kind of, this associate or whatever, you're going that way, and it's like, and they can't understand, oh, this is just how they are, and they're sharing this, and it's, even though it's deep and serious to them, they're not equating that with, but like, I want you to be in my life forever. I don't know. Is it wrong for someone like myself to be very vulnerable and transparent to someone, especially of an opposite gender? Like, am I setting them up? Am I setting them up to think, oh, he's into me, and he wants me to know all of this in and out of him so that I can be there, I don't know, emotionally in ways that are more than just general friends? I don't know. Yes, this happened to me in the beginning of my walk. Oh, okay. So are you saying that yes, you came off like vulnerable and it just kind of made everybody feel like you were just trying to get with them? Is that what you're saying? I don't want to assume. I think it's also different too, because wait, you said, so I told you to stop. Oh, dang. Okay. I might be countering myself right now. Okay. But so let me put this in context too. I think in my opinion, if you got somebody who's really not all that attractive, bearing their soul to you, I don't think it's that hard. I don't think it's that hard to be like, oh no, they just being, real open, and they just being real cool. That's my opinion. I think when you find somebody very attractive, and they say and do the exact same things that the unattractive to you person is doing, I think that's where it might become an issue. So I could be wrong, but I think that plays a bigger part of it than just simply, being open to somebody. So
one of the big things that I think is important to recognize, the reason that I think we can't really be friends with girls, at least in the intimate way that we are friends with guys in a sense, and maybe that's weird for you to think about, but it's true, is because where you're at, okay, hey, like, I don't see this person in this way.
Yes.
There's no intentionality there, but they have their own brain. They have their own, the perspective on where this is at. And so you don't know where they're at in that. And so you just don't want to lead them on or.
Okay. I think that's a valid point. I think that's a valid point of, so we may have communicated that, hey, we're just friends. However, you don't necessarily know. You don't ever know where the other person's coming from. So he's trying to make every situation a cookie cutter situation. That's why this conversation, and it's weird that I've been seeing it so much on my social media feeds too, but like this conversation to me, I think it's dumb for anybody who tries to take like a hard stance on something. Like even my own personal life, okay? My own personal life, I'm going to get to it at the end about my own shortcomings and everything and being self-aware and why I could understand that my wife would have issues, with certain people or whatever. Like I could, right? There's context, and I'll give you guys context with that. But when I've seen videos like this and conversations like this, it's like yes and yes. In my opinion, like it's like, yes, your thought as in the way you're tracking, yes, all of that could be true. And this could also be true, right? Yes, you could 100%, hey, no, that's not a smart idea. Don't do it. And yes, you can do it and definitely do it in a healthy way, where there's no confusion of emotions or anything else. I feel like it's both, and for some reason it's not being portrayed that way. So, all right. Let's go ahead and get into, so he's got a TikToker here who expresses it from his vantage point.
This would be a negative thing, but this fellow in this TikTok lays it out really, really well.
I have a very strict rule when it comes to having female friends, and that is, if you are not my wife's friend, then you are not my friend. Many of you might see that as an extreme rule to have, be that as it may, there are reasons for that. Number one, dedicating time to another female that is not my wife just does not make any sense to me. Number two, if this woman is not my wife's friend, it means that we have a relationship that to some degree, my wife is not aware about. Tell me if that sounds appropriate for a married man. Number three, I might know my intentions, but I will never know hers. And that's a conversation that I would love to avoid. And number four, let's assume that everything is innocent, nobody catches any feelings, and my wife is okay with it. People still talk. One thing you will not catch me out here doing is putting my wife in embarrassing situations. And I will be damned if my character is called into question. And the truth is that a peaceful home is a blessing that not many people come by. I have it. Why would I jeopardize that? Now, if you are a mutual friend, then you are welcome in my home and we will treat you like family. However, if my wife does not know you, neither do I. My brothers, we are grown men, and it's about time that we start acting like it.
I think there were some good takeaways. On that aspect as to what he was talking about. But I think there's some good takeaways there where, hey, from a married man's perspective, you ought not have a friend that your wife knows nothing about. And it doesn't sound like he's setting it up like I'm trying to have this secret friend. I think, and I'm just being more optimistic here. I think it's just the fact of like, no, there is just a female of which that you have encounters that you would consider that they are friends, and you've not brought it up to your wife. I think I'd start having more questions there. So that's just an assumption. Okay, I'm just making an assumption based on what he's talking about. Because my wife ain't asking any questions, okay, in my life, just so you know. But I darn sure tell her darn near everything, like especially in terms of like, yeah, I met this person, I talked to this person. In fact, one of her, I guess, not red flags, but like yellow flags, I guess, or whatever, where it's like, hey, caution, is, and she told me this, obviously, hindsight afterwards, with my shortcomings is how often I keep bringing that person up. If I keep bringing them up too many times, that's when she knows like, okay, hey, there's something going here, and I got to be careful with that. So that way, it makes sense. It just seems more like that's the way that it's being pictured by the guy on the TikTok, is that my wife knows nothing about this other girl, and therefore, nah, y'all better not be friends. Duh. I don't know how else to say it. Duh. In my opinion, I think that would be 100% true. The mutual friends. Okay. Now here's the thing, though. All right, and I'm gonna toss this wrench in there for those who feel that way, where they're like, yeah, they should be mutual friends. They should be mutual friends. How many times have you guys heard about some mutual friend and that one of the spouses or couples or whatever, they step out with that mutual friend? I'm just saying, that's definitely been a story, 100%. and I'm not going to talk about the aftermath. I'm not talking about all that stuff. Okay. I'm just talking about the point of mutual friends. I think this brings up, so for those of you guys who may not know, I produce some other podcasts in here. And sometimes when we're doing either our YouTube live podcasts here or when I have a friend of mine who I run her podcast for her, I make it a point that I do not want to be alone with a female in my house at no point or time. I don't care how cool my wife is with them. I don't care how cool we've been, friends for years and all that, and there's no intentions and everything. I don't want to do that. Why? For me specifically, I've got 2 boys. And I'm trying to show them things of which that I didn't necessarily get growing up. No one said, hey, don't do this. In fact, sometimes it was either let to be okay or just assumed that you were good with it. So I've got 2 boys that I'm trying to show them. And this actually became a conversation where my wife and I, not necessarily got in an argument, like we don't like for real argue, but she's like, no, it's okay. I really trust you and everything. And I said, listen, I don't care if you trust me. I don't want the boys to even know that I am in a house with a female and no one else is around. My studio, that door is always open. I don't ever shut that door at all. Okay. Unless I'm working in here by myself. If there's anybody in here, no matter who it is, that door is open. The point of it is that I'm making sure that I'm setting up boundaries and setting up in such a way that no one can see otherwise. And that's what the guy on the TikTok said. Hey, make sure that nobody else can say something, right? I got neighbors, all right? Shout out to my father-in-law. My father-in-law, many years ago, right, before he was my father-in-law, I would... where my wife's family used to live was much further than where I was, and I'd be hanging out super late sometimes, and sometimes they would allow me to crash in their couch, right, at their couch. Now, this is a family of 5 women, right, 6 including the mom. Only male in the house is the father, right? Everybody knows that they're a Christian, and now out of nowhere, there's this other young Latino walking out of the house the next morning, and so my father-in-law, again, before he sat me down and he's like, hey, listen, I know nothing's going on. I know everybody else is good with it here, but it is not a good reflection of Christ. It is not a good reflection of how it can be seen or perceived from our neighbors by you spending the night. So we can't have that anymore. That has been ingrained in me. And so now with the whole podcast and everything, I got 2 boys. Not only are my boys never going to be able to say, yeah, my dad is in the house with a female sometimes by himself, okay? Because I'll tell you this, and I don't know about y'all, I think far ahead. I don't want them to ever have a female in their bedroom by any means. I'm not about to show them an example of, but wait, you can have a female in your studio when nobody else is here? We're not going to have that conversation, right? We're going to cut that off right away. Same thing for my neighbors, all right? Talk to my wife. In fact, one of the times I did podcasts, I had my mother-in-law, because we homeschool, and she does all the homeschooling for the most part. I was like, hey, I know they're over at your house, but I got this podcast. I can't get anybody else here. Can you come here and do school with them? She's like, absolutely. I love what you're doing. That's great. I love that example. So I think boundaries are good, and I think those things are important, and I think it is important that of how other people perceive you, but I don't think it needs to be a blanketed statement. And I think that's where this guy is talking about in terms of how it is for single men and how to basically don't catch feelings and how to not lead somebody on. Again, valid points. I just wish it was, I guess here's what I want. And maybe I'm wanting this video to be this. I'm wanting healthy conversation of how it can be done, to be honest. So do I think there's still some wisdom and everything else? Absolutely. And I think, honestly, I might have to just do an interview like that where we chop it up with somebody, both a male and a female, and kind of see their perspective on that. So, hey, if you liked any of this content and you found some value in it, make sure that you like, subscribe, and of course, share it. Also, if you're interested in some more, go ahead and check out these videos. Till next time, grace and peace. Adios.